Week 2 primetime Pigeon Picks. Let's line it up. First things first, we went 9-4 in our Week 1 Pigeon Picks. Make sure you sign up for our football behavior newsletter. The link is in the comments. Do not miss out on every single pick, every single prediction, every single week. It's that simple. Just click below. We're going to get into Week 2 now. The Buffalo Bills are taking on the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. It is a night game, so the Buffalo Bills don't have to cry and complain about the hot weather and the way the stadium's designed and all these other things. They can just play football. And when they do that to their best, they are one of the top teams in the NFL. The only question we always have is about Josh Allen. He is the perfect superhero in a Zack Snyder movie. He's gonna save the day, but there's gonna be collateral damage. He had another turnover in Week 1. He leads the league for quarterbacks in turnovers over the last several years. He's gotta clean that up. But even so, they were able to put up a significant amount of points in a significant amount of time and beat the Arizona Cardinals. If they can do that again against this Miami Dolphins defense, they're going to be okay. I wanna focus on the behavior of the Miami Dolphins offense. We incorrectly and falsely call them one of the top offenses in the game, except the thing that they're supposed to be the best at, the thing that wins football games, that's scoring points. And you can only score points when you possess the ball. And making the most of their possessions with scoring points at the end of them has been a problem for the Dolphins since Week 8 of last year, and it's something nobody is talking about. At the end of Week 7, in 2023, the Miami Dolphins led the NFL in points per minute of possession. They were scoring 1.134 points for every minute they possessed the ball. After Week 7, that declined dramatically over their next 12 games, including the playoffs. They saw that average go from 1.134 to 0.62. That is a 45% drop, the biggest drop in the league. They had the AFC East wrapped up in their hands and they surrendered it to the Buffalo Bills because as the season went on, they stopped scoring points, especially when they faced top defenses. That was the biggest thing we found. The Miami Dolphins want to be considered a top team, except they haven't really actually scored like one. And then we saw that again in Week 1. They only put up 20 points. They were losing 14-0 early. Yeah, they filled up the stat sheet. That is what they do, except in the one column where it matters, the points column. And they're going to be facing one of the best teams in the defending division champion, Buffalo Bills. Look at this chart. This chart shows that 45% drop-off we were talking about after their first 7 games. But not only that, look at Week 1 of this season. Week 1 is exactly at the average of where they finished last season. That has got to be better if the Miami Dolphins want to improve. We think they're going to lose to the Buffalo Bills by a most likely score of 24-20. We are taking the Buffalo Bills with the spread and on the money line. Sunday Night Football, Caleb Williams, #1 overall draft pick of the Chicago Bears, taking on last year's rookie phenom quarterback CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. This game sounds like a marquee matchup when I sell it to you that way. But on the field, I'm not sure this is really going to be that close of a game. Last week in Week 1, the Chicago Bears took on the Tennessee Titans, who are not considered a great team. They weren't a great team, and they were up 17-0. And if it wasn't for the defense and special teams, the Chicago Bears would have lost that game because they only scored a couple of field goals. In fact, asking the coach of the Tennessee Titans what they could have done differently to actually pull that game off, he said they should have just punted on 1st and 10, and they would have been fine. They would have gotten out of there with a win, and he's probably right. So what does that mean for the Houston Texans? Is there anything to worry about on their end? The answer is yes, because last week they played the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, it's a division game, but Anthony Richardson, not a polished quarterback, not a lot of starts, even going back to his days in high school, coming back after missing most of last season. It's his first game back. The Houston Texans allowed 27 points in 20 minutes of Colts possession time. That's right. 27 points in just 20 minutes of possession time. That is insane. In fact, last week's game against the Colts is an outlier. It's already their worst game in terms of score prevention behavior in the D'Amico Ryans era. It's worse than any game they had last season. So we look at that as a likely outlier. We think that the Houston Texans are going to win this game by a score of 24-14. That's a 10-point game. So what does that mean? We're going to take the Houston Texans covering the 6.5 points at -115 odds. The question we have to ask ourselves about this Monday Night Football matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons is what we saw from both of these teams in Week 1. Is that going to be typical? It's very difficult for us to predict what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do. Completely different quarterback, completely different coaching staff. all of those things need to have time to mesh. The Philadelphia Eagles have those same environmental changes, except their head coach is the same. Not sure that's necessarily a great thing for them. We'll see if he makes it to the end of the season, but they have changed out their coordinators. Their quarterback is the same. So those are where we see some of those environmental advantages. So what do we think is going to happen? The truth is, we don't know, and we're never going to lie to you. This is a very difficult game to predict. There are way too many environmental changes that have gone on for both of these teams for us to have a sense of what their likely behavior is going to be. We could give you all kinds of math stats and models and all of this stuff, but the reality is we and anyone else doing that is guessing. We make all of our predictions based on the science of human behavior, and quite simply put, there hasn't been enough behavior from either of these teams for us to feel good about knowing what they're going to do next. So, for those reasons, we are going to refrain from placing a bet on this game, but according to our model, based on the behavior that we do have, the most likely outcome of this game is a Philadelphia Eagles victory, 21-18. We are not placing a bet on this game.